Hello everyone, thank you for joining us in presenting our research poster. Our study explores the question of how does the lack of diversity in social science research affect undergraduate students. Social science is the study of people, communities, and society as a whole. At its core, it seeks to understand human behavior, relationships, and the structures that shape our world. For decades, social science studies have primarily relied on participants from a narrow demographic, predominantly white, American, and high socioeconomic status individuals that are not representative of the diverse society that we live in today. This lack of representation isn't just a research issue, it directly affects the social sciences as a field and the students who engage with it. This makes representation especially critical. When research fails to include diverse samples, it risks producing conclusions that aren't generalizable. For students in the social sciences, there might be real consequences.
To examine the impact of limited representation in social science research on students, our study focused on three key questions. First, are students even aware of this issue? Do they recognize that much of the research they study is based on a narrow sample? And if so, where does this awareness come from? Second, how does this impact students? When students don't see themselves reflected in research, does it affect their engagement, sense of belonging, and perception of research validity? Finally, what can be done to improve? We wanted to know how would students like the professors to address this issue? Should coursework include more discussions on research bias and diverse studies? Our goal was to better understand how representation shapes students' classroom experiences and what steps can be taken to create a more inclusive academic environment.
To explore these questions, we conducted 4 focus groups with 27 undergraduate social science students. As you can see from the pie charts, we have students from diverse backgrounds, ethnicities, and sexual identities. These students met criteria such as being social science majors, taking multiple social science courses, and being over 18. Without seeking to recruit a specific demographic for our research sample, we found that the sample was vastly diverse, which is representative of the whole point of our study. These discussions consisted of 11 questions where we examined students' awareness of the lack of diversity in research samples, the impact it has on them, and their thoughts on improving research practices. Each focus group was recorded and transcribed, and we used a structured thematic coding approach to identify key themes from our focus group discussions.
To answer our first research question, we found that students' awareness of research sample biases largely depends on their professors. Primarily, students who recognized these limitations did so because their instructors specifically discussed the issue in class. Otherwise, some students do actively seek out demographic details in studies, while others don't notice or consider it at all. For our second question, the impact on the students varied greatly. Some students felt completely unaffected, either because they never fully expected representation or were indifferent. However, many students reported negative feelings such as anger, frustration, and alienation due to lack of diversity in research. Despite this, some students felt motivated to challenge these limitations and contribute to a more inclusive future for the field. Finally, students acknowledged the complexities and constraints of research but expressed a desire for change. They want professors to openly discuss representation, highlight diverse studies when possible, and encourage critical conversations about inclusivity in research. By addressing these concerns, educators can help students feel more connected to the material and the discipline as a whole.
Based on our findings, students want more representation and diversity in research in order to feel included and valued. This means that social science research samples that lack diversity are not generalizable to our society and may discourage students from engaging or pursuing the social sciences. Additionally, we found that students really want professors to talk about this issue since instructors play a key role in shaping student awareness. Incorporating discussions on research demographics can help students engage more critically and feel more represented in academia.
Our findings are limited to our specific university. Future research can complement our findings by exploring whether these patterns hold true at other institutions with different student populations. Additionally, our study primarily relied on qualitative data. We can learn even more about this topic by implementing large-scale surveys, which could help quantify the impact of underrepresentation in research samples, providing a broader understanding of how big the scope of the issue is. Overall, what this study tells us is that representation matters, not just in theory, but in practice. There's so much more we can learn by expanding this research. And with that knowledge, we can make real change to how we teach, how we conduct research, and how we support the next generation of social scientists. Thank you.